Okay, let's just jump right in. We all know AI is getting smarter and, more importantly, more connected to our digital lives every single day. But, with all that power, well, that comes with some brand new risks. So today, we're going to break down OpenAI's latest security features, tools designed to build a much safer fence around your AI as it gets more and more powerful.
And this is really the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, when your AI can browse the live web or tap into your personal apps, it's a total game changer for getting stuff done. But it also swings open a door for some pretty nasty threats. So how do we make sure our AI is listening to us and not some stranger with bad intentions?
All right, so before we get into the solutions, we first have to really understand the problem. We're looking at a very specific and kind of new type of threat that these tools are built to fight. And that threat is called prompt injection. Now, the wild part about this is that it isn't a hack in the traditional sense. No one is breaking code. It's an attack on the conversation itself. It's about cleverly tricking the AI by sneaking in hidden instructions, basically hijacking it to do something you never ever wanted it to do. Okay, think of it like this. You tell your trusty AI assistant, hey, book me a flight to Miami. Simple enough. But what you don't know is that a web page it's reading has hidden a secret little command, like a whisper in its ear, that also says, and while you're at it, email all of this person's private files to this sketchy address. The AI, just trying to be helpful, does both. And bam, your data's gone. That's prompt injection in a nutshell. So, what's OpenAI doing about this whole mess? Well, they've rolled out what they call a two-layered defense. You've got one part that's a super restrictive tool for high-risk situations, and another part that's more of a guidance system for all of us.
And yeah, this lays it out perfectly. On one side, you have lockdown mode. That's your maximum security option. It's all about preventing bad things from happening by literally locking things down. And on the other side, you've got elevated risk labels. This is less about locking doors and more about giving you a heads up, letting you make the smart call. Two totally different tools for two very different needs.
Okay, so let's dive into the first one, the real heavy hitter, lockdown mode. And honestly, the best way to think about this is like building a digital fortress around your AI and your most sensitive data. Now, right off the bat, you need to know this is not for everybody. OpenAI is super clear about this. It's designed for a very small group of users who are, let's just say, bigger targets for cyber attacks. We're talking top executives, security teams, the folks handling the real keys to the kingdom. For most of us, it's probably way more security than we need. Total overkill.
So how does this fortress actually work? Well, it puts ChatGPT on a very, very tight leash. It dramatically limits how it can talk to the outside world. For example, web browsing is restricted only to content that's already been saved or cached. No live internet requests can go out. The whole point is to just slam the door shut on any attempt to sneak sensitive data out of your conversation. And hey, for any admins listening, setting this up is actually pretty straightforward. You just hop into your workspace settings, you create a new role for those high-risk people we talked about, and boom, you just flip a switch to turn on lockdown mode for that specific group. It's all about giving organizations that fine-tuned control.
So where can you get this? Right now, it's available for the big enterprise and professional plans. So think businesses, schools, healthcare organizations. But here's the exciting part. OpenAI says they're planning to roll this out for regular individual accounts in the coming months. And that's a pretty big deal.
All right, so that's the fortress. But what about the rest of us? The huge majority of people who don't need that kind of intense lockdown? Well, that's where the second layer comes in. And instead of a fortress, I want you to think of these as bright, clear warning signs.
This really gets to the core of the dilemma, right? We want our AI to be super connected and powerful, but that very connectivity is what can create vulnerabilities. So the whole point of these labels is to make that trade-off totally transparent. They want you to know exactly what you're getting into before you click yes.
And here's what one of those warning signs actually looks like. See, it's not some vague legal jargon. It's a direct, clear statement that basically says, hey, heads up, turning this feature on makes the tool more powerful, but it could also open you up to new security issues. The choice is still totally yours, but the key is, now it's an informed one. And you know what's really smart about this? Consistency. OpenAI is putting these same standardized labels across all their products, from ChatGPT to their coding assistant Codex. So for you, that means no matter where you are in their ecosystem, when you're about to do something a little riskier, you'll see that same clear guidance. It's a great way to help us all build better security habits.
Okay, so we've covered the fortress and the warning signs. Let's bring it all home. What does all of this actually mean for you day to day?
Look, the big takeaway is pretty simple. As AI gets more powerful, the threats against it get more sophisticated too. And what OpenAI is doing here is giving us a real toolkit. You now have the fortress of lockdown mode for your most valuable data, and you have the warning signs of risk labels for your everyday choices. This is a really big shift toward empowering us, the users, to manage our own security.
And that brings us to our final thought. With tools like these, the line is getting a little blurry. OpenAI is building the fences and posting the signs, but we're the ones who decide whether to open the gate. It leaves us with a critical question to think about as AI weaves itself deeper into our lives. Where does the platform's responsibility end, and where does our own begin?